will come after us if they can. And the only thing that we have to deter this is good intelligence, to understand that a plot is being hatched and to get there before they get to us.
A British newspaper report set off a DC media feeding frenzy on something that has actually happened for years. Verizon has stored metadata on all customer calls for the government to access if needed. Even former Vice President Al Gore weighed in today, tweeting, "Is it just me, or is secret blanket surveillance obscenely outrageous?" And with that, we are back now with the Talk Box. Security researcher Ken Westin is our guest. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. He wrote about this today for Tripwire.com. So you just heard everyone from Senator Dianne Feinstein, chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, talking about what this all means. And the first question that I really want to ask you about is the distinction that we're talking about here. Metadata, what is it, and particularly how it applies to this Verizon case?
Right. So I think a good way to think about it is like postal mail. Metadata is like the envelope or a package. You can see where it's being delivered, who it's from, the date, like with the post stamp. You can also see the size, the weight. So general information about that message, but you can't access the contents. For law enforcement to access the contents, be it a voice conversation, SMS message, or data, that would require an additional court order to get wiretap information and things like that, where they actually have to show a probable cause.
Were you surprised at so many people taking the tack that, well, this basically means the government is listening into my phone conversations? That's sort of what I think a lot of the immediate reaction to this was.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised, and they are alarmed, and they have a right to be. The fact that our government is doing this, but then again, back in about 2000, 2008, we actually made it legal for them to do this sort of thing. So with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which was started,
FISA, I think.
Yeah, it started in 1978 when it was passed, and then in 2008 is when they actually made it so it was more broader and actually covered domestic surveillance, and that was actually just extended another 5 years in 2012.
Oregon Senator Ron Wyden came out today saying he is a critic of all of this. Do you think as senators make decisions and lawmakers make decisions to either support or oppose this, that could actually change what is currently in place, even if a FISA has been extended?
Very much so. Well, you look at actually Wyden in 2012, he was a big critic of it then. He was actually trying to pass amendments that would actually do a lot more to protect privacy, provide more transparency, as well as more oversight of these particular programs. And I think so he's kind of sitting back saying, I told you so, in a lot of ways. And so I think with the backlash and a lot of what people are saying now, like we don't want this, it's going to drive lawmakers to kind of rethink some of the things that they've been doing. Coming
at it from your approach, looking at sort of the big the big discussions in technology and security, do you find it troubling, or do you find it just as simple as seeing a package mailed to another person and you don't know what's inside? Well,
I guess I'm sort of neutral. I mean, I'm sort of fascinated by the technology, both on the black hat side as well as law enforcement. And sometimes law enforcement is actually functioning a lot more like hackers because they're trying to utilize technology in a way. But sometimes the laws don't keep up with that. And I think one thing people do need to realize is that law enforcement really isn't the one collecting the information. They're merely consumers of it. The information is actually being collected by corporations, be it a wireless carrier, an ISP, Facebook, all that.
Now you're getting into the PRISM territory. This was a big story in the Washington Post today. Separate story, but sort of a similar issue, the government basically mining data from internet companies. And you have sort of well, how do you feel about that?
Well, again, I think that's, I don't think they necessarily have full right access to like Facebook, all their servers and things like that. I think there's a little more to the story there, such as requiring a court order, going after a specific person or an organization.
It is such a fascinating topic. Ken, I cannot thank you enough for coming down. He's on Twitter, by the way. He's at K Westin if you want to follow him and get updates on all sorts of things related to this, as well as other technology and security related issues as well. Thank you very much for making the time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.